Welcome back, everybody, to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and I'm joined by my friend Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com. And together, we're going to talk about some early concerns that we see from this Chiefs team after Week 3. So, Josh, the Chiefs beat the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday Night Football, and the Chiefs are 3-0. They're one of the few unbeaten teams in the NFL, but that doesn't mean that we haven't spotted any glaring issues that currently face the team. So my first question for you is, after a win like that, which was a tough win on the road, what do you think is the biggest concern or some of your bigger concerns about this Chiefs team as a whole?
So if you were to rank the concerns as, if you were to rank them by how much they're actually affecting the team, I would think that the offense would probably be the most concerning, right? Because they just don't look like they're a cohesive unit yet. But the thing is, I'm not as concerned about the offense because I believe they have the talent and it's not a talent issue. And like Patrick Mahomes, you trust him to figure it out, right? So if I were to rank them in terms of most concerning, as in like, here's the biggest issue, yeah, for sure, offense. But if I were to rank them as most concerning as to what I don't know what the fix might be, I would say probably pass rush for the defense. Now, the defense, don't get me wrong, had a good game against Atlanta. Nick Bolton, in particular, of the linebackers, had a fantastic game. He was the best defensive player on the field. But I think the pass rush is probably the biggest concern because, Michael, I don't know if you've seen the charts that have come out yet, but Seth Walder of ESPN has started to produce his pass rush win rate by double team rate charts. And so far, the Kansas City Chiefs defensive ends, George Karlaftis and Mike Dana, are among the worst defensive ends in the league when it comes to pass rush win rate. Mike Dana, in fact, is at the very bottom left corner of the chart.
Yikes.
And this was always my concern with handing out that contract to Mike Dana before the season. I don't want to get it twisted, Michael. I know we kind of really hammered this in the offseason. I like Mike Dana, but I like him as a rotational piece, as a 3 or a 4. And right now he's starting for this team, which, yes, Charles Omenihu is hurt right now, and you would think after Charles Omenihu comes back that he'll eventually take over that role. But even then, you would hope that Felix Anudike-Uzomah takes a step forward, or maybe we see something out of Cam Thomas, who the Chiefs traded for right before the start of the regular season from the Arizona Cardinals, former top 100 pick from just a couple years ago, who had 3 sacks in the preseason. So, pass rush, I would say, is probably my biggest concern because while the defense is performing fine right now, when you get into the postseason, pass rush to me is the most important thing right behind quarterback play.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair concern. And you mentioned the offense. I'm sure that you've seen all the stuff about Travis Kelce and how he's officially washed up and how the Chiefs offense is just not good enough, even though, they're scraping by and getting wins. I think that last season really spoiled us because we were very critical. We did not think this Chiefs team was going to win a Super Bowl, and they somehow, some way found a way to put it together literally in that divisional game or the wild card game against the Dolphins. And then they ran all the way to the Super Bowl and found a way to win it. But it really kind of changed my perspective on overreacting to certain things. But the Chiefs offense has not been what they advertised and teased to us all offseason long. And I think that part of that is Travis Kelce not living up to, at least what we're expecting him to be in the first, month of the season. But at the same time, you don't have Hollywood Brown, your number 1 wide receiver, or at least number 2 wide receiver that you signed in the offseason. He's completely out, and that was going to change your offense.
Yeah.
But I find it hard to make a ton of complaints when they're 3-0, they're finding a way to win games, and this is going to be the worst they look all season long. They're only going to get better, but I know that as Chiefs fans, we're trying to see this team look perfect, but they've never looked perfect, even when they've won Super Bowls.
Well, and the other thing too, and why I'm not pushing the panic button on any of these things, is because not only are you 3-0, Michael, but you faced 3 good to very good teams in the first 3 weeks of the season. The Falcons, albeit they may not be one of the best teams even in the NFC, they've got a good offense, or at least good skill position players that you really have to worry about all over the field. Darnell Mooney, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. So, they're pretty loaded. And then Kirk Cousins is supposed to be a big upgrade for them at quarterback. And you were able to contain them relatively easily on defense. And then, of course, the Ravens and the Bengals, those are two AFC contenders, albeit Bengals are 0-3 right now. So we'll see what happens with them. But I mean, those are three very good teams, very talented teams that you were able to beat in the first three games. So I'm not pushing the panic button on anything yet, but these are definitely issues you want to see get ironed out. And the offense in particular, like Mahomes, and I've said this on Twitter. I said this a couple times last year, even. It's like the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season, every single year, there's like 1 or 2 throws a game that Mahomes will make. And you're like, what is going, like, what are you looking at? And it's very strange. It's uncharacteristic, although maybe I shouldn't say it's uncharacteristic because this seems to be a yearly thing at the beginning of the year. You obviously trust Patrick Mahomes to figure it out because he's Patrick Mahomes and the track record. I mean, you can't deny it. You can't ignore it. But you just kind of look at some of these throws or some of these decisions and you're thinking, what's going on? There was even a clip in the Falcons game where Mahomes had the option to pitch it to Kelsey, and he was deciding whether to keep it and run or to pitch it to Kelsey. Kelsey was wide open, probably would have gotten a first down, and Mahomes keeps it and instead gets tackled at the line of scrimmage. And it's like you kind of have to wonder what exactly is going on there. And then Travis Kelce is obviously another topic because he's off to another slow start this year, and that may be something that is hurting this offense because, I mean, you talked about the Hollywood Brown injury. He was supposed to be your wide receiver 1 this year, Michael, and you came into the year without him, and you're not going to have him for the rest of the regular season, which puts additional stress on Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice. And this looks like an offense that is similar to last year, but I'm not super concerned that it's going to ever be as bad as it was last year because Rashee Rice is obviously taking a step forward. He looks awesome. You have Juju Smith-Schuster, who's a safe option, found the end zone on Sunday night against Atlanta. Like, you know, you'd much rather have him out there than Tony or Sky Moore or whoever else. So
I was going to say, can we talk about how they signed Juju Smith-Schuster off the street and he's already producing more than Sky Moore?
Yeah,
Sky Moore's got like 30 snaps and he has not recorded a single catch or even a target.
I think someone said that he hasn't recorded a reception since September of last year. So
it's like that Jacksonville game or something like that. Like,
I think it was a little while after that, but I think it might have been like week 4 or 5. But it's been a while since he's even recorded a catch.
Yeah, and that's so unfortunate. But, you know, you mentioned how the Chiefs played, 3 really good teams to start the season, even if on, paper what their record shows might not indicate how much talent they have. But the Chiefs currently have not played Buffalo, and Buffalo looks pretty good, but they're a regular season team. And Pittsburgh even looks good. So you just want to make sure that your offense can be up to par with the Buffalo Bills. And I'm not really worried about them being up to par with the Steelers, but it is a concern that you have some other teams in the conference that can absolutely go and score some points.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, sorry to cut you off. I don't know if you're about to say something else there in addition to that, but I mean, this is kind of what we were worried about last year heading into the postseason is, okay, yeah, defense is great, but can the offense score? Because when the Chiefs went through that, it was like a 5 or 6 game stretch last year where they could not score in the second half. It's like they had 0 points in the second half for like a good 5 weeks, I want to say it was. And when that happened, it's like, yeah, okay, the defense is playing great. Like the Philadelphia Eagles game was a game during that stretch in which the Chiefs had a 10-point lead at the end of the first half and lost the game. And it's because no matter how good your defense is, you can't cling on to a 10-point lead for dear life. It's not going to work. You have to be able to put these teams away with a good offense, because if you don't, some of these offenses are just way too good. Like take the Buffalo Bills, for example. I agree with you. They're a regular season team. I'm not necessarily concerned about them, but they're a team that their offense is good enough, led by Josh Allen, that if you try to take a 10-point lead from the first half, if you try to take that and run with it for the rest of the game, probably not going to end well for you.
Yeah, no, they're definitely a team that you can't get behind early because they can put up so many points. But really quickly, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video. That is the Hollywood Casino at the Kansas Speedway. On October 27th, starting at 2 p.m., the Hollywood Casino is throwing a watch party for that Chiefs-Raiders game. I'll be there doing a live stream, so come say hi. But you can also go and enter for your chance to win $1,000 in Pen Play bonus cash. You can sign up using the link in my description. Definitely sign up if you have a chance and go out to that watch party. It's going to be a blast as the Chiefs look to absolutely smoke a terrible Raiders team. And so come on out, say hello, and we'll watch that game together and have a good time. I mean, Josh, really quickly, that Raiders team, they suck. That Raiders team
Yeah.
sucks.
Well, did you see they already had like a team meeting with all the players and the coaches? And I feel like if you're having like an emergency team meeting,
it's week 3.
Yeah, in week 3, that's usually not a good sign. And then they got, dismantled by the Carolina Panthers, who we all thought was the worst team in the league by a pretty wide margin. So It's not looking good.
But definitely come out to the Hollywood Casino for that watch party. It's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, I mean, the Raiders are not a very good team, and the Chiefs are going to have a little bit extra motivation to go up against a Raiders team that made some offseason antics revolving around, Patrick Mahomes and puppets, and things were said and things will be handled. But getting back to like what we believe to be the biggest concern for this Chiefs team, it's hard to make this video in week 4 because the Chiefs are 3-0 and there really hasn't been anything that, sticks out as a major red flag concern. I will mention, we have not talked about this yet, Josh. The Chiefs might have really messed up with Kingsley Suamataia. I'm not saying that he's going to be a bust, but the Chiefs left tackle position is a revolving door right now. They're at this point, they're either starting Wanye Morris or Kingsley Suamataia, and they don't know who they're going to start on a weekly basis. And that is a massive problem in my eyes for the protection of Patrick Mahomes. And that could result in multiple losses.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man, because I've never been a fan of starting a rookie left tackle. That was always something that I had warned against, back before we traded for Orlando Brown and all that. But I was excited for Kingsley Suamataia. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. And I thought, once I had learned that he won the job in training camp and preseason, I thought, okay, we'll see how this goes. I'm confident. Then in those first 2 games, you're just like, man, you can't keep putting him out there. It's just not working. And that's not to say that Kingsley Suamataia can't go on to be a good starting left tackle in the NFL. I still think he has a potential to be a good starting left tackle in this league. But the problem that we're running into is he's learning on the job. And when you put a guy out there to learn on the job that is supposed to be protecting Patrick Mahomes' health and his safety starts to come into question. And we don't want to mess with that because if Patrick Mahomes goes down, you're not winning anything. I think it's very clear at this point that Wanye Morris should be the starter. His side of the line was relatively quiet against the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm still sure there's going to be games going forward where Wanye Morris struggles as well. But I still think he's the more comfortable option to have out there, especially with a year of experience under his belt in the NFL. And I like Kingsley a lot. I'm not giving up on him or anything like that, excuse me. But he needs to learn. And I mean, even going back to Eric Fisher when the Chiefs drafted him first overall, he really struggled early on. And the Chiefs, they put him at right tackle, and then they switched him to left tackle again. And it took him some time before he eventually settled in. So I'm not giving up on him or anything like that yet. But for the Kansas City Chiefs, when you tell fans repeatedly, hey, we're starting this guy, or this week we're starting this guy, and we don't know who our starter is, that's not a good situation to be in. Personally, I would love for them to get on the phone with Donovan Smith and maybe bring him back in just so you can have that comfortable option. That's what I was going to
say. Donovan Smith is sitting on his couch just waiting for a phone call from Brett Veach. And I think, listen, it would take him a couple weeks to get back into football shape. But, man, why are you playing around with Patrick Mahomes' health? And I understand that Wanye Morris and Kingsley are guys that the organization has confidence in. But, man, we're trying to win 3 straight Super Bowls. Why are we messing around with rookies and second-year guys to protect the most valuable player in the NFL? It just doesn't make much sense to me. And so that's why I think it's such a big concern. But, another big concern is that these injuries are piling up, Josh. I mean, we saw Hollywood Brown go down in the preseason. Isaiah Pacheco suffered an injury to his fibula. He's going to be out for 2 months at the minimum. And so the Chiefs are starting to have some substantial injuries on both offense and some defensive injuries, and that could derail this season. And you hate to see it, but part of the reason the Chiefs have looked kind of, like they're chugging along in the first 3 weeks is because the guys that they have brought in and the guys they expected to be healthy and play have not played.
Yeah, injuries have been a huge issue with the Kansas City Chiefs so far this season. You basically lost your wide receiver one and your running back one before you could even make it a couple weeks into the season, and that's going to hurt any offense, which is another reason why I'm not pushing the panic button on anything. These aren't reasons why I think the Chiefs won't win the Super Bowl this season. Or I'm not trying to make it out to be like that, but those are things that are going to have to be addressed. And the Kansas City Chiefs luckily have addressed running back with the addition of Kareem Hunt, which, Michael, we haven't even talked about. I mean, that was crazy. I mean, they finally brought him back.
It's
we were all unsure
all over again.
Yeah. So they've addressed that, but wide receiver is one that I'm going to be looking at to see if maybe they make a move at the deadline to add another veteran if you're not going to have Hollywood Brown for the rest of the season. Because I know they said that there's a shot that he's back for the postseason, but I'm not sure you can depend on running a rusty Hollywood Brown out there in the first playoff game of the season without playing the entire year. I just, there's players out there on other teams that are struggling that I think you could grab at the deadline and add another pass catcher to this group so that you're not leaning so hard on Rashee Rice or rookie Xavier Worthy.
You got to go out and get somebody. I mean, it's unfortunate that Sky Moore hasn't panned, but listen, you can't expect him to be a producer on this offense.
I mean, he's been eliminated, and I know you interacted with my tweet when I said this last week, but he's been eliminated from the offense completely, which it obviously isn't a surprise because he was a bust last year. So it's not a surprise that he's not getting any targets or anything like that. But it's just wow, your second round pick from just a couple years ago has basically been shunned forever, and he hardly ever plays. He never gets targeted. I've seen him maybe a couple times in there on blocking snaps on running plays, but that's about it, man. He's fallen out of favor completely.
Well, it's so crazy how 1 year you draft Sky Moore, and then the next year in the same round you get Rashee Rice, who's number one wide receiver. It's just Brett Veach finally hit on a wide receiver in Rashee Rice, but listen, he's got to go out and get somebody else because the injuries are piling up, and that is another reason to be concerned about this team. I said in the preseason that the only thing that could stop this Chiefs team from legitimately going back to back to back was injuries. And you've had your number one wide receiver and your number one running back both go down, and it's leaving the rest of the team kind of scrambling, trying to find help and answers. But so far, I think coaching has been phenomenal. I mean, listen, Andy Reid has still had some of those moments where you're just like, what are you doing? But I think that overall game management, the timeouts that he's used, the defensive coordinator and Steve Spagnuolo, he's been so good this year. And I think the coaching staff is why this team is 3-0 right now. And so that is I guess, positive to end off this video of so many concerns. But Josh, my final question for you is, do you have any other concerns that we didn't address?
Not really. I think those are kind of the big three: is the left tackle, the offense, and the pass rush. Those are the ones that I've seen stick out so far. Anything else really that we didn't mention, it just hasn't stuck out enough for me to notice. So I think all the other areas of this Chiefs team are doing just fine at the moment. They're 3-0. They're facing a banged up Chargers team this weekend. So I'm feeling pretty good. I think they'll be okay.
I think the Chiefs will be okay. And listen, we can't judge the regular season too harshly because this team does not care about the regular season.
They earned the benefit of the doubt. We talked about that last year. I mean, it's just after last year, how can you question them ever again that they won't get it figured out?
They're just so unserious, and it just annoys so many other fan bases, but they always find a way to figure it out. And so after week 3, when they're 3-0, why would anybody be pushing the panic button on this Chiefs team? So Josh, my final question for you is, where can the people find you?
You can find me here on YouTube, Show Me Football. That's the channel name. You can follow me on Twitter at ShowMeFB. And then, of course, you can check out my work on ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com.
And guys, all of that stuff will be linked in the description of this video. Josh and I are going to be collaborating all season long to give you guys some of the best Chiefs content that you're going to find here on YouTube. And as for me, if you haven't already, go follow me on Instagram and TikTok. The TikTok is new, KC_Sports Report, and Twitter at KC Sports Report. Once again, a big shout out to the sponsor of this video, the Hollywood Casino. Come out and watch the Chiefs and Raiders game on October 27th. More details about that will be coming as the month goes along. And also in the description, go sign up to be a Pen Play member for more information. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video, and go Chiefs.